First things first, I will do election of chair. Ben Attrell.
Good morning, members. Can I have nomination for chair, please? Presumably that's seconded?
Seconded.
Yes. Yeah, over to you then, Chair.
Thank you. Welcome everyone. I am Councillor Emily Stradwick. Let's do some housekeeping and safety information. If the continuous fire alarm sounds, please evacuate the room and the public gallery by the stairwells. Do not attempt to use the lifts. Please assemble by Queen Victoria statue in Guildhall Square. In order to comply with Guildhall Trust Fire Marshal regulations, anyone who signed in at the Guildhall reception desk should sign out when leaving the building at the end of today's meeting. Please can everyone use the microphones and remember to switch them off when they have finished speaking. Introductions. I will start.
Councillor Yinka Dinero, Charles Dickens Ward.
And I'll start from the top and down.
Alison Harper, Local Democracy Officer.
Good morning, Derek Stone, Principal Licensing Officer.
Good morning, my name's Ben Attrell. I'm a solicitor employed by the Council. I'll be advising the subcommittee this morning.
And I'm Yusuf Yelsin, a family friend.
Perfect. Declarations of members' interest. Any declarations? No? Perfect. So this is the application for grant of premises licence, Chantel's Lounge, 70 Elm Grove, Southsea, PO5 1LN. We are going to as it's your first time, I'll just explain how it's going to go. So what's going to happen is Derek's going to open the case and explain what's going on. We get the time to ask any questions. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask them then. Then we will pass on to you to say your case. I appreciate you're standing in, so you might not have all the answers. And then normally it's the other person, so but there doesn't seem to be anyone here, so then we'll go on to summing up. So back to Derek, and then back to yourself, and then we'll go into closed session. Okay? Derek.
Thank you, members, and I will be brief. As you said, this is an application for grant of a premises licence at Chantel's 70 Elm Grove, Southsea. And the matter has been referred to the Committee for Determination following receipt of relevant representations.
Derek, I'm just going to stop you 2 seconds. Hello. That's okay. If you'd like to take a seat with a microphone and then just introduce yourself, please, to the committee.
Yes. Okay. I'm Janice Richards. I live in Grove Road South, and I'm here to object to the application for a licence for 70 Elm Grove.
No problem. Just to explain, what's going to happen is Derek's opening and letting us know what the application is. This gentleman is going to explain his side and why we should grant it, and then I will come to you to express your objections. If you have any questions, I will come to you and ask you. All right? Perfect. Derek.
Yes, so the matter has been referred to the Committee for Determination following receipt of relevant representations from 6 local residents. The application has been submitted on behalf of Idris Salah Al-Din, and it relates, as you said, to 70 Elm Grove. The proposed licensing activities are the sale of alcohol Monday to Sunday from 11 o'clock in the morning until 2300 hours, and for the premises to be open daily, Monday to Sunday, from 7 in the morning to 11 o'clock. The applicant has detailed in the operating schedule the steps intended to support and promote the licensing objectives, and these can be found in the redacted application form attached at Appendix A. There's also a plan of the premises which is attached at Appendix B. The provisions relating to the grant of a premises licence are contained within Part 3 of the Licensing Act 2003 and associated statutory regulations. Public notice has been given by way of a press notice, a premises notice, and local ward councillors were notified of the application. So there are no grounds for the committee to reject the application for non-compliance with the prescribed advertising requirements. Members, you might know the premises in question. They were formerly Chantel's Dress and Fabric Shop. That has traded in that location for over 40 years and closed probably about 2 years ago. The application states that Chantel's Lounge will be a stylish and contemporary cafe bistro operating primarily as a cafe and restaurant, offering freshly prepared meals, hot and cold beverages, including barista-style coffee and a selection of alcoholic drinks for on-site consumption. There are no representations from any responsible authority, and relevant representations have been received, as I said, from 6 local residents, raising concerns regarding the potential for noise nuisance and crime and disorder. The area is described as saturated with licensed premises, and fears are existing issues of antisocial behaviour will be aggravated. Residents living above and in close proximity to the proposed premises are concerned due to a lack of insulation and the likelihood for noise escape. I need to stress, members, that several comments have been raised regarding planning and structural concerns or private issues, but these are not matters for this licensing subcommittee. In addition, you'll see in the bundle comments and documentation was submitted regarding previous police objections. These do not relate to 70 Elm Grove. They are for completely different premises, so that needs to be disregarded, but it was included in your bundle just for transparency. Copies of the redacted representations are received and attached at Appendix C, and prior to the hearing, the agents acting on behalf of the applicant, they actually asked us to make contact with all of the people who have made representations to set out and explain exactly how the business model is proposed. And I do have a copy of one example of the letter that was sent to the residents, inviting them, if they wish, once they've read the letter, to withdraw their representations, but no resident actually withdrew any of their reps. When determining the application, the committee must have regard to the promotional licensing objectives, which, as you know, are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. You need to take into account the Licensing Act 2003, the adopted statement of licensing policy, judgments of the High Court, which your legal advisor can assist you on should that become necessary, the currently statutory guidance issued by the Home Secretary in accordance with Section 182 of the Act, the representations, including supporting information presented by all the parties, and the human rights of all the parties concerned to ensure both a fair and balanced hearing and to consider any public sector equality duty requiring public bodies so due regard to. Members, I don't think I need to say any more at this stage, but I'll obviously be here throughout the proceedings should you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Derek, there was reference on one of the objections about a midnight close. Has that been changed now to the 11 o'clock? And that's why there was mention of it being midnight, but obviously this application is 11. Has there been a change in the application or to try and help reduce the objections? Or?
No, as far as I'm aware, it's always been 11 o'clock.
And then I know the police report has been referenced in here, which isn't the same property, but it does mention CCTV. As all of our premises, CCTVs are standard throughout, because this is basically, this objection just mentions CCTV needs to be installed. That's what we do now, just to confirm.
Yeah, the licence or the applicant has actually agreed that they would have CCTV.
Perfect. And the final question, obviously there's no police reps, which is normally a better sign. Do we have any reference or any history with this person beforehand?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
No problem. Members, do you have any questions?
Sorry, the only question I will, okay, it might be, I think it's not.
That's okay. No problem at all. Do you have any questions for Derek at this time? No? Do you have any questions for Derek at this time?
Questions or comments? Or
Only questions. So any for what he said for the opening.
I believe that there was originally, I think one of the objections said about it was till midnight. I believe that was the case originally. So that's all, but maybe not.
Looks like it's been changed to 11
Looks like
o'clock.
it's been changed,
Yeah.
whatever.
Ben?
So, yeah, it doesn't make a difference really in the end.
Just one short question. The application itself states that the premises is located within a cumulative impact area, but that's not the case, is it?
No, that is not the case, no.
So accordingly, the cumulative impact policy doesn't kick in. It's just a standard application.
Sorry,
But-
can I just ask what's a cumulative impact area?
Okay, so I'll just quickly explain that for you. So where there is a high density of licensed premises that are causing unusual levels of crime and disorder, primarily the police will lead on an application and provide the evidence to the local authority that that's the case. And then the authority can basically draw a line on a map and say this area suffers from a disproportionate amount of crime and disorder because of the number of premises. And it may not necessarily be that premises are being poorly run, it's just simply the fact that there are too many of them in one particular location. And identify a particular area and then say this area has effectively reached a saturation point, and therefore we're going to adopt a policy which says that in essence, if a new application is made for new premises within that area, there will be a presumption of effectively refusal based upon that having been established by the police evidence that it's effectively an area that has got too many premises already. That's not the case here. So effectively, ordinarily, in terms of the way the Licensing Act works, there is a presumption of grant. So if somebody applies for a licence and there are no objections, nobody has any issues with it, the Act says the licensing authority has to grant the licence. There's no question about that. It has to, and it can only therefore refuse a licence or impose any kind of restrictions in terms of conditions if there are good reasons based on evidence to do so. So it's a very, in terms of an applicant for a licence, the Licensing Act works very much in their favour in the first instance. What is I should probably also stress, and I apologise if I'm running on a little bit here, but is that whilst the Act does favour applicants in the first instance, it does also, in effect, give licence applicants the rope with which to hang themselves also, because there are actually quite a lot of built-in safeguards to regulate businesses once they're up and running, and if once they are up and running they are shown or do actually start to cause issues, any resident, any responsible authority, so the police or environmental health for example, could initiate a review of the premises licence, and then it all comes back to a subcommittee here, and the licence is considered all over again, and at that stage conditions can be imposed, but then importantly on the basis of actual evidence of how the premise is actually running, rather than quite often with new licenses there's a perception of, there's a fear or a perception that premises are going to cause issues, but there's no real evidence of that at that stage. Hopefully that sets things into context a little bit and explains, I know for residents that don't have any licensing experience, it's all new. But I'm happy to answer any questions if there's anything arising from that.
Yeah, I would like to ask a question about what you just said about the cumulative impact area. So it's the police that determine whether the premises, no?
So
No.
the licensing authority will decide whether to adopt a policy to a
Right.
specific area, but the police generally lead in terms of, because they are the experts on crime and disorder and can provide all the figures and the data to support the application for a particular area being considered as a cumulative impact zone. This is not such an area. So this is not an area, if such a policy did exist, and we do have a particular area in Portsmouth that is identified, but this premises doesn't fall in that area. But if it did, then the presumption would be that the applicant would need to prove to the authority that their application isn't going to add to those issues that already exist. It not being the case in this application, it's kind of the other way round. So the burden is on those objecting to show, to prove that the application will result in issues affecting the 4 licensing objectives.
Okay, I'm sorry, I need some clarification on that, because who determines what the boundaries are for a cumulative impact area? Or perhaps we can call it CIA, whatever. But just because it surprises me that there isn't one already, given that you've got Palmerston Road literally down the road, you've got Albert Road not that far, you've got Elm Grove itself, which is, you know, overloaded with premises. So why isn't there a CIA for this? Do you see what I'm saying?
I can jump in on this one.
Yeah.
So we actually did look at it recently at a licensing committee. However, once the police went into more evidence-based looking at what were being reported, it was actually just one premises, and that's why it wasn't then adopted and gone out for consultation. So it has been well looked into. That doesn't mean the police aren't still going to be keeping an eye, and that might change. But the last time we looked at it, what was actually being reported was only down to one premises, and when you looked at the figures overall, you'll probably be able to see it online as well from the last licensing committee, not a subcommittee, and all the figures are on that for you as well, so you can see what we were being referred to, and it's, again, all evidence-based. So if people don't report it, then it doesn't flag on that.
Well, I think, sorry, if I could just say, people don't report it because it's so often and it's so much. And quite frankly, I mean, my son reported the bus stop just outside being vandalised and whatever about a month ago, and the police never even turned up. So, do you know what I'm saying? It's
That's
just
fine.
like, because if it's based on police evidence, as I say, in the end, people don't bother because they think they're not going to get any. And, you know, there was a fatal stabbing in Elm Grove just like last week, you know, from a premises there. So what I'm trying to say is like this CIA being used as a kind of criteria, almost a part of the criteria, is not necessarily
Obviously things change,
Yeah.
and what's happened from last week will obviously be included in that. It's not a discussion obviously for today to be adding
No.
that in.
Okay, fair enough.
But please do keep an eye out, because that will be coming back to committee. So when that comes through, we're looking for people like you to make comment on why you think that. So, but unfortunately at the moment, when we looked at it only a few months ago and we used them figures, it didn't hit the criteria for the licensing committee at that stage.
One final thing.
Yeah.
Maybe you should write to all the people living in Grove Road South and Elm Grove and ask them what they think about that. You know what I mean? Maybe
what I
that's
would
a
suggest-
consultation that can be done rather than just relying on
It
what
would be a
the reports of the
consultation.
police.
So if the committee decided that they wanted to do it, it would have to go out to consultation. But you do have your local councillors on representation.
Sure.
So if you have any
Yeah.
comments, please reach out to them, because it's
Okay.
proportionate. Okay?
Fine.
I think one other thing I would stress is if there are issues of crime and disorder that you witness yourself or others, for anyone else that may be watching, is to report those to the police, because that will help with figures and assist in compiling the actual data and make a more persuasive case.
I do just have one more question. It was regarding when they put the paperwork on the window, someone's made reference to a fake application. Could you just clarify that for me?
Yeah, it was a bit of a weird scenario, members. We didn't receive the application until after the notice had been placed on the window, which is unusual. And probably 7 days went by and we still hadn't received the application, but we were starting to get representations in. Well, we can't receive a representation if there isn't an application. So I put a letter, created a letter and posted it alongside the notice that was displayed, saying until such time as we receive an application, please don't make any representations. And then obviously the actual notice was subsequently posted. So does that explain that for you?
Perfect, yeah. So it was still eventually done correctly, it's just there was a bit of confusion to begin with.
It was done correctly and the application was received and the notice was duly displayed.
Perfect. Right, members, any more questions? No? I'm going to come to you now, sir. So this is your time to explain why we should grant it. I know you're speaking on behalf, so if we have questions you might not be able to answer, but if you could answer them as best as physically possible, that'd be great. Over to you.
Regards of the business is literally to do a breakfast around 7 in the morning until 12, around 1 p.m. Then from then onwards, it's going to be a evening food of like burgers, smash burgers, and a few, obviously, with the license of alcohol, of getting involved around the same time. Obviously, on the license, it shows from what time we open, but obviously the drinking alcohol doesn't start in the morning. I just want to assure that as well. And the drinking could stop in a certain time. We could stop it around 10 and not give it around 11, because that's the closing hours. Because I don't want to serve, well, him, sorry, not myself, to serve alcohol around closing time as well, because it's not really the best option for us while we're closing, if it makes sense. So really, he's explained everything the most, what's the main aim of the business. There's not really much I could say on his behalf. So that's all I can say for now.
Members, any questions?
Yes, thank you. I think you already addressed my question. It's just about opening at 7 o'clock in the morning. And initially, I wanted to ask if you actually hoping to customer by 7 a.m. and then if they start drinking from 7 o'clock to 10 to 11 p.m. But I think you've explained that it just mainly breakfast from 7 o'clock to about 12 or 1 p.m. without people coming in to drink at that period.
Yeah, 100%. It's the only way. It's only right, because if we're going to do breakfast in the morning, then sell alcohol, it doesn't suit the business itself if you want to try to build a name. And obviously, regards about Chantel's, everyone knows Chantel's Lounge within 40 years, like he said himself. So we're trying to use a name as an advantage as a business. So we don't want to make the reputation of the name go down, because obviously it's been around in Portsmouth for 40 years, ever since I known it as a little boy myself. So that's why with the alcohol, like I said from before, it will definitely start around 1 to 2 p.m. and close around 9 to 10 p.m. 100% before closing hours.
Okay, so do you have like live music?
Not live music, no. Not anytime soon, nothing like that, because obviously as it's going to be an established business soon, hopefully, because as it's not open yet, as he's had it on rent for over a year, not live music, no. It's too early. It's too early. And of course, regards about the neighbours, we have put soundproofing system, for what I know, on the walls and everything like that, so it shouldn't make as much sound as he says. But if there were to be complaints regards about live music, then of course we'll take it off straight away. But it's not the main intention at all. At the moment, like I said, it's a new business to be open.
Okay. And then did you mention that you close to customers by 10 p.m.?
The alcohol will be closed around 10 p.m.
Okay,
Yeah,
by 10 p.m.
Yeah, then business will close around 11.
Around 11.
Yeah.
Because most of the letters here, or to say no to this, most of them are mentioning midnight.
There's
Most of the letters
yeah, I
here,
understand,
most
but
of
on
them.
the licenses with the opening hours as well, we don't have the hours to open that late anyways, if that was the plan. But as we don't have the hours, I can't make a comment on that as well.
Okay. Thank you.
I think you covered most of the. How would you tackle the noise if it happens? Have any plan, and are you planning to have any outside sitting on the side, because you've got you're in the corner? So how would you tackle your noise? How would you sort of treat your neighbours?
Regards about outside sitting, that was mainly he was thinking of it to do outside sitting in the morning for breakfast wise, because there's a local spot. It's a very good spot to do as well, but that's only in the morning option only. Regards about drinking times, and if there was to be any noise complaints, most likely if the customers that do make too much sound, we refer them to them and warn them to calm down, because we got obviously not our tenants, and it's not obviously one of the best things to do to a customer, because they'll complain themselves, to let them know that they're making too much sound. But the business aim isn't to, hopefully not to go to that level where customers are making noises, where they're over drinking and all that kind of stuff. But we know our limits ourselves. if a customer has drank too much, and not to give any meal drinks as well, because that's the main safety thing as a business. Because a customer, if they do overdrink, they could cause a hazard, who knows, break a table. It could be a damage on us, as well as for the tenants upstairs at the same time. So, of course, we have made the concerns of thinking that from before, even trying to open the business and make an idea of what we're trying to do. So we always thought about the advantages and the disadvantages of something happening and be prepared for it. So that's all I could say.
Yeah. What type of, I know you said your breakfast and smash burgers. In the evening, what type of food you be serving? I mean, we know we talked about, there's two ways of looking into licensing. I mean, you have a bar type of restaurant and you have a fine dining restaurant. So there's two clientele. So what's your clientele after 6 p.m.
From
till 10?
6 p.m. onwards, we're still serving, like, regards on smash burgers. Well, the menu's not 100% done, because obviously the business is still not open yet. It's still getting refurbished as it is today. The intentions is literally from after breakfast meals, we'll change the meals completely to evening food and lunch food, like with burgers, maybe coffee, like Mediterranean cuisine as well at the same time. And obviously with the alcohol with
So
it.
is that going to be Turkish?
Kurdish, Turkish, yeah. No. It's a mix.
Yeah, because my question is, because although we talk about the noise upstairs, but it also depends on what type of business you are running.
Yeah.
If you have like a bar type of restaurant, then it becomes noisy, it becomes group orientated, especially where it's located. I think we have to keep that in mind. People are living upstairs, and any business, although we want to have businesses in a high street, but we also must respect the people who are living near about. So I think as long as you have that in mind, that's
yeah, no, 100%.
Thank you.
I'm actually going to refer back to Derek just quickly because there was mention of outside seating. I'm presuming this premises would need a pavement licence if they wanted outside seating, just so this gentleman is aware they can't just put seats out.
They would, and I don't think the pavement's wide enough to actually approve that anyway.
And
Chair, sorry to interrupt. You looked as though you were in the flow of a question there.
it was just around soundproofing. I'm just trying to gauge how much has actually been done for this premises. Do you know if there was a specific engineer that came out to soundproof? Was it just done by a local builder?
It's done by a local builder in Portsmouth.
Ben, if you want your...
Yeah, so it was really a question to Mr. Stone. I understand that there was some negotiation with the applicant, with the police, before the application was submitted, and that led to an agreement in terms of certain conditions. And I think this kind of strikes to answer the question from members in relation to only serving alcohol to those seated at a table. And specifically restricting any vertical drinking at the premises, so no standing and drinking. So I think that gives a flavour of... Is that correct, is my question?
That is correct. Firstly, the premises or the applicant has agreed conditions with the police, which will automatically, subject to this being approved, go on their licence as a condition. And that covers CCTV, as you can imagine. If there's a defect in the CCTV, how they would deal with that and notify the police, etc. Staff to be involved in the sale of alcohol, to have comprehensive training, Challenge 25, all the usual things that you'd expect the police would ask for, a refusals register, and a record should be made of incidents of crime and disorder taking place. And members, I did mention to you that the applicant agent sent letters out to everyone who made representations, and they stressed on this, that then I can give you copies. Nature of the premises: Chantel's Lounge is not a bar. The premises is a cafe bistro offering seated table service of food and drinks throughout the day. There is no provision for vertical drinking, no standing area for alcohol consumption, and no live entertainment or extended hours. Alcohol will only be served to seated customers, typically with meals in line with the nature of the business. And then it goes on to say that they've worked closely with Hampshire Constabulary, who haven't objected to the application. They've agreed a number of robust and enforceable conditions to ensure the premises operates responsibly, and these include no vertical drinking, alcohol only served with food or to seated patrons, no off sales, a full CCTV system, a dispersal policy, and mandatory staff training. So that's come from the agent acting on behalf of the applicant.
Okay, and then, but just to confirm, they cannot sell alcohol until 11.
The application is from 11 in the morning till 11 at night. If they choose to finish that early, as Yusuf has just said, if they want to stop serving at 10 o'clock, that's their prerogative. They can do so in order to clear the premises early.
How will you, if the bar is on show and someone comes in early, say if they're going on holiday, sometimes they want to drink, how are you going to make sure that you're not serving before 11 o'clock? That's my concern. Normally when people open at 11, it's easier, but when you're opening earlier than what you can serve alcohol, how are you going to make people aware that you cannot serve it?
Of course, we might have the hours starting from 11 and until 11 p.m. But if we make a policy as a staff and as a managerial thing where we don't serve it at the time, we won't. It might not make the customer it will make the customer unhappy, of course. But if we want to follow a system what's comfortable for us and have an easy life, then we have to follow that as well. Because, of course, you've got to make customers happy as well, regardless. It's a business thing. I run a business myself as a takeaway. Obviously, it's not the same kind of establishment, not the same environment. But, of course, you've got to make customers happy. But there's times where you have to put yourself first as well. What's a bit greedy, but it's the only way to enjoy my life as well as running the business. So I have to start from there.
Yeah, Yinka?
Sorry, my question is just to Derek. Sometimes it's easier said than done. How are you going to monitor that what they said they are going to be using the premises for is actually what they're using it for? Because sometimes we approve, and when they say, just like what he mentioned now.
I can help answer that. This team go out every weekend, so they will be checking everything to make sure. And say this lady might have if this is granted and then she has a complaint, they will be out there inspecting. So they do go out. I don't know if you want to add any more to Derek, but
No, that's absolutely correct. We do get complaints from people all the time, particularly residents if they notice something isn't quite right. So if this was granted, I can assure you with the representations we've received, if the residents became aware that they were in breach of their licence conditions, we would be notified and we'd be on it as soon as we could.
and members, you are more than welcome to email them to go out with them if you want to, because it's for a fun night. Right, Jan, it's now for you. Any comments you've got for your objection, all of that is your turn now, all right?
Thank you. I do have a few questions. I mean, the applicant and gentleman is obviously saying all the right words, right, which you would expect. But I have a question, is why do you need an alcohol licence from 11 o'clock in the morning if you're not going to be serving alcohol until maybe like an evening kind of trade? That's one question. Second question is how when you have groups of people in, they're having a rare old time, having a lovely meal, and etc., most of our noise nuisance problems come from people exiting bars and restaurants and places down Palmerston Road or from Elm Grove. And so how are you going to monitor that? I mean, I think the answer to the question, I can answer my own question, is you can't, yeah? So, you know, groups of people who've had a great old time, they've had a good old drink, you know, and they come out and they cause major noise nuisance down Elm Grove and down Grove Road South. Plus, so how will they deal with that? You know, people who obviously maybe get a little bit rowdy in the restaurant, but you say, right, it's okay, you've got time, you've got to go now, we've got to shut. What do you do once they go out the restaurant and they're causing problems down those two roads, Elm Grove and Grove Road South? And the other...
Would you like Yusuf to answer them first? And
yeah,
then,
perhaps, yeah, that might be a good idea, yeah.
Firstly, regards about the starting hours of the alcohol, if the Idris is willing, once he's back on holiday, he could change the hours just for the sake for the tenants. I respect that fully. He would happily change it as well. We could change it from 12 or 1 p.m. That's not an issue. Regards about the second question, obviously they got the bars across the road. Is it One Eye Dog, I believe? That's not too far. Obviously there's a lot of sound coming from there. Even like you could not always 100% control your customers. A customer, it depends on how they are, how they react as well. But I did say earlier that we will know our limit of how much to serve to a customer, 100%. Because I will not feed a customer a lot of alcohol just to get them drunk and get their money, because it's not safe for me as well. Well, safe for him as a business, because it could cause the business a hazard itself. So we will know our limit. Regards about people on the outside, what they do, okay, from my business perspectives you're asking, that's fine, that's fair. But there's a lot of people outside, they could come through and cause a lot of noises as well that you wouldn't notice from us. If you saw last week Tuesday, a very well-known established business called Farm Kitchen, there was a raid literally Tuesday. That's a good family friend of my dad's and myself. That they left the bar, I don't know what the bar's called, down Palmy Road, I'm not sure what it's called, and actually smashed the windows of a business that had no involvement, that's been closed and around them times. So is it fair on the business to be smashed as well when it's got nothing to do with them? So in the regards of your question, and I understand from your point, you want everything to be safe for yourself, but just know we want our safety as well. So we would definitely know our limits as a business.
So just to add, there'll be a noise management programme. Would there be a sign on the front saying to leave quietly?
No, there will definitely be signs on the logo signs, and we put like a rule thing where for customers to be aware that we want our business to be like this, and not too much signs. And regards, like I said, with the alcohol, that we would know our limit to serve, 100%. I wouldn't want to serve a customer like 10 drinks. Okay, it could bring money to the business, a good turnover maybe, but because we know there's a limit where they could get drunk, and I just don't want a customer to leave drunk in the business to cause a hazard. It's the last thing I want anyways. And we were aware about tenants from the start, before even getting the business, before he wanted to rent it out from the landlord himself. He told the landlord himself, even said that there's tenants upstairs. If you want to open a business, just be aware. So we made the plans from before that what he wants to do anyways, and respect the tenants.
Jan, do you have any more questions?
Yeah, I mean, just to comment really on what he said is that, you know, I don't expect any business, right, to follow its customers out and down the road, you know, and to see what they're doing. But of course, the reality is around there is that this is what happens all the. I mean, the gentleman himself has just said, you know, about windows being smashed maybe by drunk customers, and I think my point of view is the crime and disorder. You know, I've mentioned in my objections about twice the bus stop has been smashed up from people wandering, you know, down the road who are drunk already, and you can't prevent people getting drunk, right? Even in a restaurant. I mean, that's just naive and impossible. So my reason for my objections is the crime, and I know there are specific criteria. So the crime and disorder, you know, with the bus stop constantly being vandalised. It's only just been repainted and glass put in again, you know, from people, not, you know, from wherever. I don't know where exactly they came from, but literally people who obviously have had a good old drink and having a good time. The noise of people, again, who are drunk, wandering up and down Grove Road South and Elm Grove. And what you were saying is it's like, we just don't want to add to the problem. That's the thing, don't add to it. And I know that's not a criteria for your licensing, but opening yet another bar, opening yet another bar that will sell, or restaurant, or whatever you want to call it, that's going to sell alcohol, will just add to the problem and just make it worse. So, you know, that's really my whole thing. And I don't live above, I actually live on the road, so I'm not a tenant of, above Chantel's. Oh, sorry, one more thing. Just to say that the gentleman there said that the actual application wasn't made until well after they'd put the notice up. To me, that strikes a little bit of like being irresponsible and not really knowing, you know, what the rules and regulations are. Because it's quite obvious if you're in that business that you need to make the application. I finished.
Sure, you've got any more comments? Because this is your chance to just get everything out on the table. Can I ask, have details been shared to residents that have made objections, numbers, so that if there is trouble with the building works or any noise issues, so that they can be rectified rather than having to come into the premises? Has that been
I've not
organised?
heard anything, to be honest with you. So you got to ask Idris himself when he comes back.
Okay, members, any more questions?
Just to encourage you as a resident, please keep reporting, because if you don't report, it's never done. But if you don't just be tired of reporting, and then you have your local councillors, get in touch with them and report. So when we have more report, then we can deal with that. Okay, but never be tired of reporting.
I agree. However, it does strike me a little bit of shutting the door after the horse is bolted, because then if people are already saying or making their objections, I don't know what other people have said in their objections, but if they're already saying, it's going to add to the noise, it's going to add to the crime and disorder. So, it's like you saying reporting, well, okay, what, do you see what I'm saying? It's like too late. Almost. I know you're saying that if it got really bad, the police would shut them down, the licensing people would go and shut them down. But for residents, we've got to put up with that to start off with. So, yeah.
I've just got a follow-up. Sorry, Derek, I keep pulling you back. Regarding the lady has mentioned about the noise and everything like that. Around, I'm not completely familiar of the area. Is it more bars locally or is it restaurants? I'm just trying to see how much food is being given out in these areas.
Well, you've got some big bars either side of the junction, in effect. So you've got the Honest Politician and House one side, and they go to like 3 o'clock in the morning. They're proper pubs, clubby sort of venues. And then the other way by Albert Road, you've got the One-Eyed Dog, the South Sea Emporium, Fat Fox, and they go to like 3, 4 in the morning. There are some restaurants along Elm Grove that do food, but Fuego is opposite. They don't actually have a license, an alcohol license, but that's the nature of their business. They chose not to. They could have applied for one, so it's up to the individual and how they want to run their business.
Just to clarify, if a premises doesn't have an alcohol licence, people are allowed to bring alcohol with them. Is that correct?
They can do, yeah.
So it's something we can't manage then if they don't have an alcohol licence?
That's correct. Or they could apply for a 10 if they wanted to.
So
sell
ideally it's
alcohol.
better for someone to have an alcohol licence than to not have one?
As part of a business model, there's a definite demand for people who like to go in and have a drink with their meal. Particularly so in a restaurant, they might want a bottle of wine or a glass of wine with their dinner or meal. It's not unusual for an application like this.
Can I add something on that topic? I mean, obviously, I'm in this nature of business and been running business in Albert Road for years. I think the bars we have, like One-Eyed Dog and Honest, they're the more problematic in terms of noise. But if you look at the Elm Grove side of it, it's mainly takeaways. You've got Perfect Pizza across the road, then you've got Lynn Cafe a few doors away. Chaiwala is a new, they're coffee bar. Coffee bar, so they're not licensed. But I think, end of the day, the problem and solution we have is not the noise. Noise is already there. Noise is already there, which you and I can't stop. Can I ask you a question? How many people that you're thinking of having working for you?
First start, it could vary from minimum from 10 anyways, because we need 2 main chefs and 2 people behind as an assistant, and serving the customers as well. And obviously the managers themselves will be there anyways.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
so enough for people to be around, because anyways, there's only one floor that's actually being built. So it's more than enough people to be aware of everything what's going on anyways.
Yeah, and I think to run a business in Elm Grove, and obviously you are trying to go sort of upper end a bit. Obviously your clientele might be different than the bars and pubs. So would you have a member of it, like a door staff went for the licensing to control the hooligans coming in. Is that something that you're thinking?
That
or?
is very ideal, of course, but as the business not is actually open yet, we need to see what's happening. Like I said, the business probably won't be open another 6 to 8 months anyways, because it's still being refurbished as it is. It's just been through a very slow process. If you could check, since when you got it rented and today's date, it's been over a year, where he's just been paying the landlord his rent and not done anything yet. So it could take another 6 to 8 months to open the business anyways itself.
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. I'm going to move on to summing up now. Jan, if you've got any final comments, this is now your time to sum up everything.
Just like to reiterate, it's not just about what's already there in Elm Grove, it's about what's there in Palmerston Road. And although I live, well, I don't know, a 5-minute walk away from Palmerston Road, the people, you know, who are using the bars and all Palmerston, etc., you know, are coming out drunk and wandering down Grove Road South. So it's not simply about what's on Elm Grove already, it's about the whole area, which is why I was interested in this CIA thing, because it's about the whole area. And like I say, even though I know that it's not a licensing criteria, I think oversaturation and adding to an existing problem is not a good idea for the residents, that's it.
Chair, just to jump in there and just to say that oversaturation or cumulative impact is a licensing criteria. It is something that you can consider. It's just that there isn't a policy in place that creates a rebuttable presumption in terms of in favour of refusal, generally speaking, unless the applicant can persuade you otherwise. So the saturation of premises and the number of premises is something that you can take into consideration.
Perfect. Derek, have you got anything else to sum up?
No, thank you, Chair.
Perfect. Yusuf, it's now your time to sum up and finalise everything, please.
Obviously, it's an experience for me to come in today, and obviously for her, but I understand from what she's coming across, but the main topic is, just to let her know, is about the business, not around Palmerston Road, there and there and there. I understand from her point what she's trying to say, but I just want to let her know, like, the main reason why we're here is about the business itself. Whatever's happening the outside is nothing from other side of the roads or other side of Portsmouth, you could say. Some people could start in Copner and start a little hazard from there and then come all the way to Southsea. That's not the main priority for the visit today. And obviously it's an experience for you to come, maybe for that purpose. But it's a bit unfair on the business purpose when it's trying to open up. And I appreciate you coming in, and like I said, it's an experience. But if your purpose was to come in for that, it's a bit unfair on me. Well, unfair on him, actually. I just wanted to say that, that's all.
Have you got anything else to sum up before we go into closed session? No? Are all parties satisfied they've said everything they needed to? Yeah? Perfect. So we're going to move into closed session. This is where we're going to ask for you to leave. If you see us, please don't speak to us. Time-wise, what's the time now? It's 11:50, so should we say 12:30, Ben?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Perfect. So we might not be done by 12:30, but we definitely won't be reconvening before 12:30. Okay. So if you're coming back up here and these doors are still shut, please do not come in. Wait for one of us to bring you in. All right. You can go off, have lunch, do what you need to, but we need to deliberate now, and we won't be coming back before 12:30. So if you need to go out anywhere, we definitely won't be back. Yep. You. Got that time for you.
Do you report on what your decision is?
Yes, so it's all live streamed, so we will be back and live streamed, and then it will be published as well. So
all right, because I won't come back.
No problem at all.
Okay,
Thank you for your
thanks.
time, Jan.
Thank
all
you.
right, and we'll see you all back around 12:30.